A longtime resident of this country is facing disturbing news this morning. He is an Army veteran, taxpayer, and voter. He worked for the government and raised a family. But as Manuel Borges reports, he now finds himself caught in immigration limbo.
Mario Hernandez wanted to take his wife Bonita on a cruise, but needed a passport. What he found out next changed everything.
After nearly half a century in this country,
Yes, sir.
to hear someone tell you you're not a U.S. citizen.
I feel like my heart's been ripped out of my chest. I really do. It is difficult even to speak about it. I'm telling you, it is. You know.
We should be enjoying this time of our life, not living in fear that something bad may happen to him.
The problem dates back to 1965, when Hernandez's family fled communist Cuba. He was granted the legal status given to all Cuban immigrants, which included a Social Security card but not immediate citizenship. In 1975, he believed he'd become a citizen when he was sworn into the Army during the Vietnam War.
I took the oath there to uphold the law, the Constitution, bear arms.
For 2 decades, Hernandez worked as a federal prison guard, a job that requires U.S. citizenship and recurring background checks. Among the criminals he supervised were Oklahoma City bombers Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols.
It was a very high level.
And all the while, you're not a U.S. citizen.
I was always under the impression that I was.
Hernandez's attorney, Elizabeth Ricci, appealed to immigration officials earlier this year, citing his clean record, history of paying taxes, and military service.
The law says if you serve during a designated period of hostility, which Vietnam was, you can jump from not having a status to citizenship without first being a resident.
But in March, they were told he was not eligible and denied.
What is the problem? What's going on?
Inefficiency to the extreme.
In a statement, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services said, "We are currently reviewing Mr. Hernandez's case and will meet with him and his attorney to further discuss his application."
I'm living in a bad dream, and it's like I'm hoping I wake up, but it's not a dream. It's definitely real.
Hernandez hopes he will be allowed to fulfill the American dream he thought he was living. For CBS This Morning, Manuel Bojorquez, Tallahassee, Florida.
Hernandez could face prison and fines for falsely claiming citizenship and voting. You know, there ought to be somebody in charge of red tape who simply has the right to make a decision to say, you know, stop this.
Yes, common sense. I love what the lawyer said, inefficiency to the extremes. I have a feeling that's going to change very, very quickly.
Ermilo, you're having some problems. Tell me about them.
Well, I'm having problems with my passport. I've been having problems now for probably 8 years. I think the first time I applied was in 2007.
Well, let's go back a little bit. You're an American citizen?
Yes, ma'am.
Born?
In the United States, in Lyford, Texas.
In Lyford, Texas. In fact, I have your Texas birth certificate here.
Yes, you do.
So what's the problem?
The problem is that it's a delayed birth certificate because when I entered school, when I started school at 6 years old, the principals, I suppose, requested a birth certificate.
And you didn't have a birth
I didn't
certificate.
have one.
Why not?
Because I was born in the fields. We were migrant workers, we were field workers, so they didn't go running out of a cotton field and go, let's go register this boy, you know. They didn't do that in Kentucky or Tennessee either.
So you get to school when you're first grade kindergarten and they request a birth certificate.
Right. So my dad went to the county courthouse and he paid 50 cents. I still have the receipt, and he got a birth certificate.
I assume he had to show some proof.
Yes. The midwife went with him that delivered me, and for me and my little sister, and we both got our birth certificates.
And then you grew up and you served in Vietnam, did you not?
Yes, ma'am, I did 2 tours. I served aboard the USS Oriskany CVA-34 attack aircraft carrier. I did 2 tours off the Tonka Bay.
So how is it that an American citizen, a Vietnam veteran, cannot seem to get himself a United States passport?
It's a mystery to me, other than politics. You know, I don't know. I've approached McCain, I've approached Ed Pastor, Congressman Pastor, I've approached Gallegos, I've approached Kirkpatrick, I approached, what's his name in Tucson, the congressman in Tucson. I approached him. He forwarded everything to Kirkpatrick.
But why is the passport office turning down your request? How many requests have you made? I know you've spent a lot of money on
Oh,
this.
God, I've spent over $8,000 trying to get my passport so I could at least travel. I'm 71. I'm going to be 72 pretty soon. You know, all I want to do is travel like any other American. They didn't stop me from going to Vietnam when I showed them my birth certificate, but now can I go to Saigon right now? No, I can't. I don't have a passport.
Why?
Passport division they won't issue me one.
Why not?
Because I have a delayed birth certificate.
Meaning that you didn't go to get your birth certificate, or your
When I
parents
was
didn't
born.
go when you were born.
Right.
So what is it that they're thinking?
I don't know. I even got an attorney, an immigration attorney, and he said he couldn't help me because they told him that I'm a United States citizen, and I cannot get I can't sue them.
So if you're a United States citizen, why can't you have a birth certificate?
That's a mystery.
But I don't. What is it that you would have to do to prove to
Okay,
them?
they want me to get my medical records, birth announcements. They want me to get my dental records. They want me to get my baptism records, which I'm Baptist, I'm not Catholic. They wanted me to get my grade school records from the grade school that I attended.
But you have
in
those.
Texas. I have those. But I don't have any medical records because I didn't go to a doctor till I was 18 years old. We're farm workers. We weren't like the Brady Bunch that sit around and held hands and be happy family. We're a happy family, but it didn't happen.
At 71 years old, I know that you have relatives that you would like to visit in Mexico.
Yes.
What's it mean to you to be an American citizen and a veteran and not able to leave the country? You told me you've actually felt like a prisoner of your own country.
I am. What am I? I can't go anywhere. Am I a prisoner or not?
This affects you pretty deeply.
Yes, it does.
Why?
Because I fought for this country. I almost died. I was trapped for over 10 hours. And I fought for this country, and I can't get a passport. It's just sad. It's sad. It's very sad. And it's politics, politicians. You know, that's what it is.
What do you mean?
All it takes is for Congressman Gallegos or Congresswoman Kirkpatrick to attach it to a bill. If you're a veteran and you fought for this country and you have a delayed birth certificate, issue him a passport. That's all it takes. But will they do it? No. They'd rather be offended by the word alien. Give me a break.
Welcome back. Well, new here tonight, he spent his entire life living and working in the United States, but when it came time to collect his Social Security benefits, one Florida man says he has not received one penny.
Instead, he got a surprise reality check. The government told him he's not who he says he is, and now he's been fighting to prove them wrong. I-Team investigative reporter Katie Lagrone shares his story tonight.
Outside Jimmy Class's mobile home in Clearwater. Symbols of American pride hang not just front and center, but on the side of his home, in the back. America is, after all, the only home this 66-year-old has ever known.
I moved to the U.S. in 1959.
How long have you been here?
64 years.
But after more than a half of a century in the U.S., where he's lived, worked, went to school, got married, had kids, paid his taxes,
Mr. Class, you will be entitled to retirement benefits.
even voted, Class says in 2020,
Instead of receiving my first check,
he discovered
I didn't have any thoughts.
he's not a U.S. citizen.
I just was like blindsided.
Class says it all came to light after he applied for the Social Security benefits he paid into his entire working life.
You gotta be kidding me. You know, 1 month you tell me I should expect my first check. second Wednesday of 2020, but instead I get a letter stating that I haven't proven to them that I'm here legally.
You see, Klaas was born in Canada, his mom Canadian, but his father American, born and raised in New York.
This is Dad?
Yep, that's Dad.
The family moved to the U.S. when Klaas was 2 and stayed here.
That's me as a Boy Scout
In America.
in America.
As he got older, he says he just assumed he, too, was American, a dual citizen. Documents he laid out for us are a glimpse of his deep roots in the U.S.
This is when you know you're old, when the old driver's licenses were paper.
Roots, he says, were never questioned. Not when he got his Social Security card, driver's license, or voter registration card.
I've been voting for over 40 years. I guess I'm in a lot of trouble.
Klaas was even approved to serve as a Marine for the U.S. military
I signed up to defend this country.
and work for the New Jersey State Police. His citizenship status, never an issue, he says.
The only thing they asked me for was my Social Security card and my driver's license.
After he learned he wasn't really a U.S. citizen, he formally applied for status, but was denied. U.S. Immigration Services wouldn't share details with us, stating they don't talk about individual cases. But in this 2022 denial letter, the agency stated Klaas didn't provide enough evidence to prove his father lived in the U.S. for 10 years before Klaas was born, a requirement.
I've seen a handful of cases like this. They don't come around every day.
Indira Demine is a Fort Myers-based immigration attorney. She says Klaas's case is a reflection of a large, complicated, and changing U.S. immigration system that can't always accurately track who's here legally, illegally, or somewhere in between.
For many years, the DMV, the different agencies didn't necessarily communicate with each other. And so the documentation that you need to renew your driver's license or for the Social Security benefits were not as stringent as they are now.
How did he get issued a Social Security card, though?
That's a good question. Quite possible that back then, the requirements they have a social is just not the same as it is today.
So is it fair, though, that he was issued a Social Security card, he got his Social Security taxes withheld, he worked all of his life, he paid his taxes?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I worked my 50 years and I paid into my Social Security. They should be paying me.
What happens if this doesn't get resolved?
Well, I guess they get to give my money to someone else.
Will it make you look at America differently?
I'll probably move back to Canada.
You would consider leaving?
Yep, and say bye-bye America.
Klaas says he contacted Senator Rubio's office, hired an immigration attorney, even a genealogist to dig up records to help him in his fight, a fight that continues. I'm I-Team investigator Katie Legrone, taking action for you.
A Rowlett man planning a vacation abroad is worried now after his new passport came with a warning.
Andrea Lucia reports on the mix-up he is eager to fix.
I have a birth certificate, born in Brooklyn, New York, in a hospital. It's all documented.
Tony Aratam is and always has been a U.S. citizen. But when he renewed his passport this year, it arrived with a letter.
Please return your invalid permanent resident card.
It's a necessary step, the letter claims, for immigration to, quote, update its systems to reflect your current citizenship status.
First of all, I had to try to figure out what a permanent resident card was. I was not only surprised, but I was really concerned.
More commonly referred to as a green card, it's not a document Aratam has ever had or ever needed.
Because I was born here in the United States.
Both his previous and newly issued passports list his birthplace as New York. So he called the number provided.
They were confused in terms of how that happened, but they didn't have any answers for me.
Aratam says he was told to visit the nearest U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services office. That's nearly a 30-mile drive away in Irving. And the next available appointment here is in March. Even then, a department spokesperson told me there's nothing it can do. Since Aratam never immigrated, this office wouldn't have any record of him.
I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and that's why I decided, to go ahead and make that appointment.
Aratam says recent increased scrutiny of international travelers has him nervous.
I think it should raise concerns for anybody who gets a discrepancy with their passports.
He was hoping to celebrate his 50th wedding anniversary with a trip abroad. Now, he's having second thoughts.
I would not leave this country without this being resolved.
In Rowlett, Andrea Lucia, CBS 11 News.
So we did reach out to the Bureau of Consular Affairs, which sent the letter, but we were told they could not provide any additional information.
Tomorrow we celebrate our nation's birthday and what it means to be an American. But for a local Navy veteran, this holiday comes amid a frustrating fight with the state of Tennessee, which is now challenging his citizenship. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rory Johnson.
And I'm Hunter Hoagland. A lot to get to here at 6 o'clock. That veteran has lived here in the U.S. now for more than 7 decades and considers himself to be patriotic. Investigative reporter Jennifer Krause has been looking into this. Jen, what's going on here?
Guys, the state of Tennessee says he is not a U.S. citizen, but he's got papers that say he is. He is a veteran. He's served his country. And now Tennessee is making him jump through hoops to prove he's really an American. And in the meantime, the state has taken away his license to drive. After a long career as a commercial truck driver, it may not surprise you that David O'Connor drives a big truck. Only these days, he's not actually driving it. Legally, he can't. You don't have a driver's license?
No.
But you've had a driver's license?
I have.
The 77-year-old had been driving for the last 61 years. He's had driver's licenses in New York, New Hampshire, Vermont, and then 8 years ago, when he moved to Tennessee, he got a license here. But last month, Tennessee canceled O'Connor's driver's license.
And they told me I shouldn't have had the license in the first place because I couldn't prove I was a citizen.
It just blows my mind.
That's David's wife, Jean.
I'm flabbergasted. I am outraged that he, at 77 years old, is now considered a non-citizen by the country that he's lived in his whole life.
It all started in early June when O'Connor came here to not only renew his driver's license, but get one of the new enhanced or real IDs. O'Connor brought with him
Date of birth, May 25th, 47.
his birth certificate, his Canadian birth certificate. But your father was a U.S. citizen?
He was.
Your mother was a U.S. citizen?
She was.
Since both of his parents were U.S. citizens, and you can see it right there on his birth certificate,
Citizenship, American, USA.
the law says he's a U.S. citizen too. His American-born parents had temporarily relocated to Canada, and soon after O'Connor was born,
I've been here for 77 years.
the family moved back to the U.S.
None of it makes any sense to me, none of it.
And no one, he says, has ever questioned whether he's really an American until now.
Now, that's the thing. Now, at 77 years old, are you kidding me? It's unbelievable.
Especially, Jean says, because O'Connor was able to join the U.S. Navy. He was just 17 when he enlisted. That's him in the back left corner. He served 4 years and was a sonar tech. And look closely at his military discharge form where it says U.S. citizen, and there's a box for yes and a box for no.
That says on my paperwork that I am a U.S. citizen.
And that's not all. And have you voted?
Every year.
He's also got a Social Security card, and now that he's retired,
Oh, yeah. I'm drawing Social Security.
he's getting benefits. And don't forget, he was a truck driver, so he had a commercial driver's license for many years and was able to get a standard license in 4 states, including Tennessee. Yet now, he isn't.
It's not fair. It's not fair at all.
A real ID license will look like this.
Now, to get a real ID, which looks a lot like a driver's license, you do need more documents to prove who you are. There are 8 different ways you can prove you're a U.S. citizen, but a Canadian birth certificate is not one of them. So employees at the Driver's Service Center in Athens, where O'Connor lives, refused to give him a real ID. And then things went from bad to worse. They refused to renew his license, again questioning his citizenship and his birth certificate.
I said, no, that's no good. We shouldn't have given you the license in the first place. And they just canceled my license right there.
Right then and there.
Right then and there.
Suddenly, the Navy vet could no longer drive, couldn't get on a plane, and won't be able to vote in the upcoming elections. In the state's eyes, he isn't an American. And O'Connor says that just about broke him.
It's like your country don't want you. I tried to do things all my life the right way. And now it's like I'm nothing.
He says he feels like this is a slap in the face and he feels like a nothing. So we went to Jeff Long, commissioner of the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security, with O'Connor's predicament and told him how frustrated O'Connor is.
I can understand that, but everyone has to realize after 9/11, the Real ID is very specific as a federal requirement of what you have to have.
Still, Long was sympathetic and said he'd look into it and help however he could. Are you pledging you'll do that?
Absolutely.
Which is more than employees here who told O'Connor that he would need to apply for citizenship. Yes, file paperwork to become a U.S. citizen. A process, mind you, that takes time.
I'd probably be dead before that ever got through.
So at least for now, O'Connor can only sit in his truck and think about what it was like to drive it.
I'm missing it. I drove all my life.
Now, this has been going on now for a month. The O'Connors were supposed to visit family last week in Vermont, but without a driver's license, David couldn't fly. So he had to cancel his airline tickets and then get their son to drive them there.
Yeah, the ripple effect of all this.
Yeah.
You don't think about. What about Commissioner Long's promise to get this resolved?
Well, he said he was going to get right on it, but you know, we first reached out to the Department of Safety and Homeland Security a week ago, and then we talked with Commissioner Long on Monday. We're now here, close of business Wednesday, and the department does not seem to be budging and doing anything yet.
So why did the state, though, take his license and then refuse to even renew it?
Well, the state keeps citing a Tennessee law that they say people who are not citizens cannot get a license here. And the folks at the safety department just seem to be digging in their heels, insisting that he's not a citizen, even though, according to the federal government, he is.
It's getting emotional, too. It's just so sad. Hopefully, we'll see a good outcome.
Yes.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
感谢收看，感谢关注。很高兴与你分享美国真实发生的不可思议的、离奇的事件，美国政府的死板与官僚主义作风。如果您认为本视频内容还不错，欢迎关注本频道和点赞哦。